everyone wants to go on the journey. Everyone wants to be on this journey. Everyone wants to get to this destination. But especially us as Black people, we have so much trauma. We have so much packed inside that we've got generational trauma, right? Trauma from our parents and their parents and oppression and like all these things we're carrying around. And like Erykah Badu said, like we all became like bag lady and men. Like we have all this shit that we are carrying around and we never unpack it, right? That's how you do your mental health checks, like your therapy or whatever it is, wherever it looks like to you. Those to me are like unpacking stages that we can take to just unpack so we have like room to fill up with the things we want in our life.
Hello, everyone. My name is Walt, and I would like to welcome you to the BossLocks podcast, a show where we are redefining professionalism, elevating Black voices, and proving that natural hair and professionalism do coexist. Now, we do this by speaking to Black leaders, CEOs, and just people with like incredible perspectives and just doing some really great things in the world to learn about their personal journey through life and their experiences working while Black. Now, today I have the honor and privilege of speaking to Ashley Limehouse. Ashley, how are you doing today?
Good. How are you? Thanks for having me.
Oh, yes. I'm excited to have you on the show. One, you're from my hometown, Charleston, South Carolina, and I always like to represent Charleston's finest. Everyone out here doing some great things. I moved away, but I want to shout out everyone who's still there and everything, man. That's will forever be the hometown. So yeah, definitely excited for this.
Yeah.
And for those who do not know, if you're not from Charleston or just haven't run into her yet, Ashley is a yoga, meditation, and wellness director who creates spaces to explore the act of mindfulness through meditation, celebrating culture, experiences, and therapeutic conversations. She's also has a global reach working with organizations and another continent, Africa, to be particular, to work with people who are really craftsmen and bring things to life and just empowering people all over the world. And it's pretty awesome. So I have a bunch of questions to ask you today, Ashley, but to start it all off, I'm wondering, what are the 3 things that most people don't know about you?
Let's see. Probably one that I'm more introverted than extroverted. I think people automatically think I'm an extrovert because when I teach yoga and I'm a Leo, but I actually like alone time a lot. So, and I get like social anxiety just like everyone else. I'm out and I don't know, I think teaching and leading it feels like a different space, but outside of that, I'm definitely like homebody kind of person, So that's probably one. And most times when I tell people that, they're like, no, you're not an introvert. I'm like, okay.
Yeah, people never believe us when we say introverted. Like, nah. Like, why aren't you inside under a cover or something?
I'm like I wish I was.
Right.
And I would say that I have a 6-year-old son. Most people don't know that. I'm a pretty private person. So I have a 6-year-old son. His name is Ashton. He was named after me. So yeah, he's a lot of energy and I love him very much. I just don't feature him on my social media much just because I'm private with relationships. I'm private with my family. So that and let's see. Oh, maybe I've worked in wellness for almost 12 years before becoming a yoga teacher. So I was a chiropractor assistant and a bodywork therapist. For most of those years, I managed a spa on IOP or Owl Palms if you live in Charleston. And yeah, I'm actually a licensed esthetician as well. So I pretty much have done a lot of different fields under wellness umbrella. And then a few years ago, I shifted into yoga, which I've practiced for over 10 years. And then I decided to become a teacher. So yeah.
That's pretty awesome. So before even entered into the field of leading yoga, you've spent 12 years as like a chiropractor assistant?
Yeah, chiropractor assistant working on athletes. And it's been like high school athletes, PGA professionals, a few NFL players. So yeah, I've worked on mostly athletes in neuromuscular or sport massage. Yeah.
Okay, that's pretty cool.
Yeah.
That's pretty. Do you ever miss that work?
No. I don't miss it. The last chiropractor I worked for, he was like, "You sure you want to change your mind?" I'm like, "No, I just want to focus on yoga," and I've done that for like years. So I don't know. I loved having patients and clients and people I've worked on that I had a good relationship with, but it was time to move on. You just know.
Mm-hmm. Gotcha. So, and now you practice Yin yoga, but was that something that you just started off doing, or what
Um,
was that first type of yoga that you were leading?
So in my original 200-hour training, it covered yin as well. Yeah. So it covered like vinyasa full, some power yoga, prenatal, trauma sensitive yin. So all was under that umbrella. But it was in my training that I like was slowly drifting towards yin because it resonated more with me and my style. Like, I mean, I played sports my whole life. So it was like it was so opposite of what I'm used to. So I'm more used to that very like vigorous like practice and very like masculine. If we're speaking about yoga terms, very masculine practice, right? Like basketball, volleyball, track and field. And yin is like the opposite. It's very slow down, very like content practice. Like, it's almost like meditation and movement. So I don't know. It just felt very pulled to that. And I don't know if it's after having my son and it's just kind of like I wanted to slow down a bit more. I don't know, but it's definitely not what I thought I would be teaching, but it's the one thing that called to me during my original training. So afterwards, I took additional trainings in New York and in Vancouver, Canada, to just focus on yin. So that's my specialty is yin. Yeah.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
World traveled learner. So, go out to you said Vancouver?
Yeah. Canada.
Yeah. How did that end? Like so I don't really know much about kind of yoga training and where to go for it, but what was it about the training program in Canada that brought you there?
Yeah. So, I mean, they have trainings throughout the US, right? Okay, I'll say this that I love traveling. Like, I try to go outside of the US at least 3 times a year
Oh, nice.
before 2020.
All right.
It was just kind of like, and I'm also, I don't know if it's classified as a hard worker, but I feel sometimes wasteful if I'm just taking a trip and not getting anything out of it. So in my mind, I'm always thinking, and it's probably, I should just slow down and like take a vacation. But I'm always like, how can I tie a vacation to a training or working or something? You know what I mean? So it's not, I feel in vain otherwise. So I need to get better about that. But yeah, I was like, oh, cool. I wanted to check out Canada. And actually, the guy that brought yin yoga to the not to the US because he's a Canadian. He lives, well, he's not in the US, but he lives on this hemisphere. But they were one of the first to actually create the practice of yin yoga. And I studied him in my normal training and my traditional training, and I didn't know that he was still teaching. And so once I saw, hey, he's in Canada, that's what he teaches the yin training. For if you were a teacher and you wanted to practice this to be certified in yin and also, additional education, which you would have to do every year anyways, hopefully, to be a good teacher, right? To stay on your toes. So I was like, okay, cool. The guy that started yin yoga is still teaching. So that's a great opportunity.
Right.
I wanted to get his perspective in person, right? I'm like one of those learners. I need to be in person, hands-on doing it instead of like online training and stuff. So I thought a good opportunity to travel and to also do a training, and especially because it was dedicated to the type of yoga that I wanted to teach and be good at.
Well, it sounds like a no-brainer decision.
Right.
That's pretty awesome. That's pretty cool. You had that experience to learn in person like that. Because yeah, you're right. So it's totally different to learn via like a Zoom thing or just watching a recorded video of it, but to be there in person, so it's like a whole nother experience. You get to like feel the lesson as well.
That's the way I learn best anyways. I guess classified as a kinesthetic learner, meaning like hands-on kind of, I need
That's
little
me as well.
Tangible kind of stuff like right in front of me. Otherwise I won't remember it probably.
Right. Yeah, something about you could watch it, see it, hear it, but when you have the hands-on actually applying it, that's I learn best that way as well. Yeah, it's like a level 2 version of learning. That's what I'm going to start calling it. Yes, I'm a level 2 learner. Yeah. That's cool. I think yoga is such an interesting practice. I remember growing up, I did not take it seriously at all. I remember my dad was trying to get me into it, and I was like laughing at him. But
yoga when you were young?
Yeah, when I was younger. Well, there's a few different times through like the school I went to. Every now and then, they have a yoga person come in, and my dad was kind of pushing for it as well. But I don't think I really took it seriously until when I was in college playing soccer, and I had this hamstring injury, and it was afterwards I was fine, but still every now and then I had to really stretch before I started playing. But I was really just doing regular stretches like bend over, touch your toes and stuff like that. And I went to this yoga class with my mom, and it was like a deep tissue type of yoga. And afterwards I went to play a pickup game. I didn't even need a stretch. I just felt like I could do so much more just after that one yoga session. And it was
did you hold the postures longer? Like, did you hold them?
Yeah.
It might have been yin,
It might have. Okay.
Yin.
Well, I like yin. I like that.
Yin is one of the only practices where you hold it for a longer period of time. Yeah. And so it's like deeper work. So connective tissues, like deeper, more not superficial like muscles are, right? So you're looking at ligaments, tissues, connective tissue, like I mentioned. And fascia that surrounds the bone and stuff. So if you hold it longer, then yeah, you probably would get out there and feel like you're ready to go.
Okay. Well, yeah. Well, then I definitely need to take one of your classes because, big fan of that. And I know the other experience I had with yoga, which really shocked me. So by then I was already, like definitely a big fan of yoga, but didn't really do it as much. But when I moved to Charlotte, I had this coworker who he was always doing some type of yoga, and I always heard like, oh, it's such a workout. I was exhausted afterwards. Like, really, come on now, come on. This yoga is stretching. But then I took the class, and that was actually tough. Like, I thought I was in shape until I took that class, and my muscles were sore. I was trying to hold a position, and other people were holding. I was like, oh, I'm just shaking and everything. Man, I took that class, and I knocked out afterwards. But at the same time, I just felt so alive afterwards. It's so interesting. If you're a good teacher and you're doing it right, it definitely is more than just a workout. It can be more than just a workout if you want to get more out of it anyways. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah. So when you're teaching it in Charleston, like one thing I was starting to see more, and I think maybe it's just me starting to pay more attention to it, but I know for a while I always looked at yoga as something that, only really white people started doing, which is kind of crazy because, it didn't start there. Yeah. But I'm wondering your experiences, like how many Black people do you see not only practicing yoga, but leading it? Because I'm starting to see there's more spaces that are specific for the Black community who want to practice. But what have you kind of seen and experienced?
Well, my training was led by mostly white teachers. Well, I had 2 Asian teachers, but most were white women. But I was very vocal in my training, how I felt. But I'm lucky that they were in tune with me and gave me space to like be honest and feel, and that was great. I'm still really good friends with a lot of the women that I went through my training with. So that's good. But I do know that I wish, I do know that there's not that many trainings focused on women of color or people of color that wants to be yoga teachers. And when I was looking for the training, there were none that I can find, especially in my city. You know what I mean? So I was very hesitant in signing up for any training. I was just like, I don't know, but I didn't want to do online. Like I said, I'm better learning in person. And so a lot of it, I'm happy I did the training. But then it's this thing where people feel like, hey, why do I need to be trained to be a yoga teacher, to teach people? And there are people that are teaching without having a official paper to say you're a licensed yoga teacher or whatever the case is. What I do think is important is that you have knowledge about leading people physically. And that just comes from being a therapist and like, you know what I mean? I feel like there is a bit of knowledge you need to know from a actual training. Now, how the trainings are priced, I think is just out of reach for a lot of people. What I would like to see more of is, which some studios are doing, not in my city. I don't believe so. I don't know. I don't do my trainings anymore in my city. I did my original trainer here. Like I said, I usually travel for my other training, or but what I would like to see more of is scholarships for people of color at these studios in my city and everywhere, because it's expensive to do a yoga training. And that's why a lot of people are discouraged for doing them. One, they don't feel included, right? Being a person of color or Black woman or whatever descent other than European. And they don't feel like the space is welcoming to them. And also the price is just insane. That I don't agree with. I don't feel like it needs to be that expensive. Obviously, these teachers are putting together a package and dedicating time. So yes, that's there. But I think it should be some kind of scholarship offered to people who would like to take the training, especially people, the minority. I think that should be there at every studio. Even if you just do a scholarship for 1 or 2 people, if that's all you can afford, whatever. Because these trainers are so expensive. If you have 90% of people paying at that top dollar that you're asking, you have enough space to offer a free training to someone, So yeah, that was my experience. I did pay full amount to do my training. But it was only because I didn't see scholarships, and I didn't really see that many women of color leading. And maybe it wasn't looking hard enough. I don't know. And at the time when I did my training, I wasn't that active on social media like that, like I am now, to be able to have access to all of this that is offered in Atlanta and all over, and led by women of color. Now, after my training, and I'm like, okay, I need to do more things online and post and this and that, to let everyone know I'm a teacher. And this is when I started connecting to so many Black yoga teachers. And I'm like, dang, I'm so pissed. I find them when I was doing, but that's just the way things are, But a lot of those teachers also were led by predominantly white studios. A lot of those teachers were, or not white, Indian, not a lot of them were. The women that I'm connected to now, a lot of them had white or Indian teachers. A lot of them weren't led by Black teachers either. So I think even if you weren't, it's now to recognize that, and also and just circle back around to be the leader that you were missing, right? When you did your training, if you're in that situation. I have friends that's just done a training and they were able to do it with a Black teacher, because there are enough Black teachers out there now leading trainings. I don't know when I'll be available to do a training. I feel like I want to keep teaching for a while, a bit, longer. And it's a lot of responsibility holding a training. So
to make sure you're instructing them the right way and give them all the tools necessary.
You can be it's different levels, right? There's someone saying okay, I can be a high school teacher. Okay, now I'm ready to be a college. It's just different. You know what I mean? I feel like you need to work to set yourself up and prepare yourself for that kind of, and especially to hold that kind of space for so many people at once, if my journey leads me there, then it leads me there. But I'm on a path now, and I'm trying to just focus my energy where I'm at the time. And when things change, then I'll move along to that. And I try to just stay open to whatever is supposed to be for me. If it comes, it comes.
That's right.
Yeah,
I like that. I think it's like, I'm someone who always likes to kind of envision what is going to be 10 years from now, and really focus a lot on manifestation and everything. But even at the same time, you can have that detailed plan, but life is going to do exactly what it wants to do. And you just have to be ready to kind of adapt and go with it.
Right. I mean, I'm probably one of a million people that don't put a detailed plan ever for myself. People are always like, what's your next thing? And I'm like, I don't know. I'm just staying open to I firmly believe that when we set ourselves up to oh, this is my goal, this is this and that, and I have this whole checklist, what if an opportunity that you're supposed to have comes, but you're so have this tunnel vision that you don't even see it, because you're like, that's not on my list. That's not what I'm supposed to be doing. Honestly, I don't know. I mean, my teachers at the time at a studio was trying to push me to become a yoga teacher. But if I had said, no, I'd never see myself as a yoga teacher. I don't see any Black yoga teachers. And I just kept that tunnel vision to what I was doing at the time, which was working with athletes and just doing yoga as a hobby, then I don't even see myself doing anything now other than teaching yoga. But what if I was off, and I remained closed off to the opportunity to become a teacher and explore that. Even though it wasn't on my path, right? My path was continuing to work with professional players and maybe get a contract with the team to, not just work with one or two players, but the whole team. That was my goal. That was where I was going. But now that I teach yoga, I mean, I just freaking love it. I love it.
Awesome.
So I'm always trying to just stay open,
That's right. I like that. So to go back in time with, so did you go to school for physical therapy?
No, I went to school for neuromuscular massage, and
Neuromuscular massage.
I mean, I did a lot of wellness stuff, but yeah, to work with athletes and work at a spa, yes, that's what I went to school for. But then I did additional training in sports treatment.
So at that time, if you remember being in school, was your mindset kind of similar to how it is now, where you're just going to be open to how it comes, or were you more so like, this is what I want to do, kind of working with athletes?
Yeah, no, I'll tell you, like, this is about to get way off track right now.
I'm with it.
Yeah, no, so going all the way back, when I was in high school, I was on track to go to art school for design. I got accepted to SCAD, which is in Savannah, and also Pratt in New York. So that's where my mind was, in art. And my mom just didn't want me to go. We had a lot of things going on in our family at the time, so I never went. So there goes another thing people don't know about me, is I love drawing. Like, my heart is in art always. But yeah, so I didn't do that. So I just chose a school. I went there. And then I ended up leaving, not by choice only, but I was in a physically abusive relationship. So I left college early. I moved back home because my life was threatened, basically. And going back home, I was like, okay, I don't want to just like not do anything with my life. What else can I do? But obviously I was talking to a therapist at the time. I was going through major depression. So anyways, I end up meeting a good friend who is also a therapist. And I'm like, hey, I never like heard about that. Like, tell me more. And I was interested, and I ended up going to school for it. I did not know what I was going to do. I was just like, I have to start my life over. How can I make myself happier by helping other people? How can I serve people? I love doing that. And I do see myself working in wellness. So let's see what happens, And I had a lot of anxiety about going back to school, just because my experience was so horrible with my relationship with college, and I was in. So it was a lot going on for me at the time. So I couldn't say that that was my goal. It was just like, hey, I have to complete something. I can't just lay here at home and not do anything, no matter how depressed I was. So I guess I was a little resilient in that way, to be able to come back and like make something after just up and leaving school. But yeah, so then I did that, and I began working with a chiropractor. And between a chiropractor for maybe 3.5 years, I got a job at the spa, IOP, and as a manager. And so I did that for a few years. I like working with the chiropractor and the athletes a bit more. So I went back to that, and that's where I was up into stopping it completely to be a yoga teacher. So no, my goal was to survive. I was in survival mode, not, hey, this is what I'm doing. Sadly, like, people probably think of this person that's like, she has so much goals, she's accomplished. I'm like, no, I just literally, when I started, it was like, let's take one step at a time, one foot in front of the other. Let's try to just survive, And anyone that's suffered major depression or anxiety probably know what that feels like, Yeah.
Do you know if in the moment, did you know that you were depressed?
After I started speaking to a therapist, but no, I still was pretty young. So it's just like, I know I'm going through emotions. I don't know how to identify what it is. So yeah, therapy helped identify what it was. I never had to take any meds for it, because I guess I try to jump on top and manage it. And then I have a lot of praying people in my family. Like my grandma's a pastor, so
Oh, shout out to grandma.
Not at church, which is a lot these days. Somebody's still praying for me, so I think that helped. Talking to a therapist, and and then my life just got back on track as far as mentally, and things started going well for me. So yeah.
That's awesome. And thanks for sharing that because I think, at least I know growing up, I had a completely different perspective about therapy and mental health and all of that stuff. And now I feel like I'm seeing more Black people speak about mental health and their experiences with it, and just all beautiful and needed. Like I've have not yet spoken to a therapist, but it's definitely something I'm interested in and
Yeah.
am looking into because it's like it's not even necessarily about just kind of being like on the last straw or anything like that or no other option. It's just like I think there's a lot of different ways like personal growth and development and reaching new growth in therapy. It's just a way to do it to realize things about yourself you may have never thought of or looking at yourself in a completely different perspective. So yeah.
And I always tell people you don't have to have be at the edge of a nervous breakdown to go see a therapist. You can be happy. You can be genuinely happy and doing well in your career, but you may just want to speak to someone that's outside of your circle that will hold space for you without you feeling judgment. Or it could be a career therapist too. It doesn't have to be a therapist like, hey, I'm depressed, because a lot of people I feel think, hey, I'm not going through anything, or I'm not depressed. Like, why would I need to see a therapist? You can see a therapist as far as like even them being a life coach or something. It's different aspects. Of course, I went because I was depressed.
Right.
You can see a therapist about many things. So yeah, I encourage that, and I think it's power in us, whoever's been through those states of depression or anxiety, to speak up about it so we can normalize, mental health issues in the Black community. That's important.
Yes. Yes,
But I think the millennials now, which is including me, are definitely all on top of being honest. I think people want substance, right? People want honesty. They don't want this like mask that people are putting on. And I think if we all are vulnerable and just being honest with each other, then we can make it through whatever together.
That's right. I like that. Kind of making it through together.
Right.
Yeah, I think that's key. And speaking of that, I think one thing that I haven't yet been able to witness it in person, but I really like what you have built with your team, with the BRWN Girl Talk, because I think that itself is just a really amazing space to kind of get through things together with people who are maybe not experiencing the same thing, but it's a bit more like relatability. So could you share a little bit more about what BRWN Girl Talk is?
Yeah, so BRWN Girl Talk is a platform. Me and my business partner, Christian K. Marie, who's a photographer. She's a photographer that focuses on women of color, right? So melanin women building brand. And so that's what she does full time. And she was a student of mine, and she would come to the studio and we would chat, and we automatically just connected on different levels as far as wanting to do something more for our community, for the Black community. And yeah, we kind of just would brainstorm every time after class. We would just walk across the street and get sushi or whatever. And we would just start talking about all these ideas and writing them down. I'm like, well, let's make it happen. Then it went from that to like, let's start social media. Then like, okay, we have something going here. Obviously I work in wellness. So I've worked with a lot of women of color, and focusing on mental health. So the backbone of BRWN Girl Talk is normalizing mental health in women of color. It doesn't matter what you're doing as far as work. And we wanted to build this like sisterhood, this community where we feel comfortable holding space for each other, sharing, and just feeling like you belong to something. What Christian would say she was missing was that like sisterhood, right? Once she moved from cities. And for me, it was just continuing to serve the Black community as much as possible, because that is what makes me happy, honestly, is serving people, and seeing people well, and seeing people mentally well, especially Black women, because we endure a lot and is overlooked, and so, yeah, I was just like, we can create this space so we can come together and meet up, and we can talk about it. The first event that we had. So what it is we have this online platform, a community where we share just like check-ins and like quotes, and we have people come on as like therapists and doctors, Black women, and we always feature Black women. business owners, entrepreneurs, whatever, CEOs, whatever it is. And we have them talk about their journey with mental health and why they love being a Black woman, and just kind of setting that example for young Black women and teens. And I think that's important to have that representation of Black women that are doing well, right? Like sometimes we're in this light where it's just like we're angry, we're struggling. I'm like, man, I know some powerful, badass Black women, and we're about to like showcase them. And also tying it into why we started BRWN Girl Talk, but like what's their mental health journey, and just sharing that with other people. So, like you're not alone. Exactly like what I was saying earlier, like being depressed. If we pretend like we're not, then, how are we going to connect to the people that feel like it's a space, but they don't necessarily feel like it resonates with them? So we just want to cover the surface of all Black women, no matter what you're doing, and just showing you how to, or allowing you, or giving you tools to keep your mental health first. You know what I mean? And just continue to fill your cup, so we're not pouring from an empty cup, which I think a lot of Black women do, right? We work so hard, we're taking care of the kids, and not dismissing Black men, right? But Black women, we do a lot of work, and a lot of times we just don't get that love that we need and that support that we need. So we created BRWN Girl Talk to just support women, hold space for women, and just build that community. So our first event was here at the studio I'm at now, actually in Charleston. And we did it with the licensed therapist. And what we did is sort of like the sister circle that was an open discussion around mental health. And we did a poll of what the women wanted to talk about before the event. And from that, we picked the top 5. And we asked the therapist. And, everyone felt like it was a safe space. Only women of color were there. And we had my good friend Shaquille, who's a vegan chef. Like we had, we try to incorporate all the aspects of wellness as far as like eating healthy, and like introduce them to vegan food if they weren't eating it already, and knowing like this can taste good. Like everyone was like, no way, this is vegan food. Like no way,
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, wellness as far as what we put in our bodies. And then we had the therapist to hold space for everyone. It was awesome. It was so beautiful, where we all were like in tears, good 10 minutes into the session. It's powerful to be able to hold that space together. And that looks different for everyone, So yeah, that's BRWN Girl Talk.
That is powerful.
A lot, sorry.
No, I loved it. Oh yeah, that what I thought it was amazing. And after hearing you say it, it was just proves everything I had in my mind right. Like that is incredible. I think it is important to have, I think general speaking, it's always good to have spaces where you're represented, whoever you are and however you present yourself. But I think like this year alone, I think if you need an example of what it's like to be a Black woman, like there's been so many things that have happened throughout this year that just proves that we all need to do more to kind of protect Black women and just kind of be there and just chill in some areas as well. I think that I was speaking with Vanity Dieterville on the episode not too long ago, and it was about the LGBTQ community, but we're just kind of speaking about like single issue kind of mindsets and kind of taking a back seat. And Black women fall into that category, people who have taken a back seat to push forward other movements. And I think like there's still a lot to do all across the board, but now is the time to really put more energy into very specific lanes, including that. So really, it's cool to see that you put that together. And I'm wondering how long has BRWN Girl Talk been going on? Is this year the first year? Or?
Yeah, this will be a first full year in a month. Yeah, we started at the end of last year, and it just started like this online, and we were just slowly moving to online. And then we had our first event in February, the beginning of this year. And then COVID happened, but we still have a good online presence. Like it's exciting. We still connect to we even started a book club during COVID time.
Nice.
And we did a virtual book club, and we featured like the authors of the book, and we did like a Zoom meeting and discussing the book. So obviously, again, amplifying Black voices in our community and everywhere. One author we had, she's based on the West Coast, but we featured her, and she was able to hop on the Zoom, and it was powerful, to hear her story. So again, focusing on Black authors, Black women authors. So yeah,
That's
it was
awesome.
awesome. Yeah.
That's cool too, because growing up, I really loved to read, but I think, well, no, that's not true. I've read a lot of Walter Dean Myers books, who's a
Yeah.
black author. Who's incredible. That's one person I'd love to meet. But yeah, I think now as an adult, I'm like revisiting reading. There are so many
Yeah.
black authors out there. Like it's not
Oh,
like there aren't any. It's just there's
yeah.
like you would run out of. I don't think I could ever read all the books written by black
No,
people.
no.
It's it's
It's
crazy.
a lot. And again, it's just like if you're growing up in an environment where you aren't introduced to those things, you think they're not there. You know what I mean?
Right.
Even doing yoga, if I wasn't, I thought it wasn't there, but it is. You know, we just have to dig deeper and keep looking. And if you can't find it, then you should become what it is you're looking for, right? So
Oh.
yeah, and then
Oh,
that's one of the reasons why I did decide to become a yoga teacher. I was like, okay, I can't find it. It's probably out there, but I don't see it. It's not in my reach right now. So you know what? I'm gonna go ahead on a journey to become a yoga teacher. So then I can be someone in my community that another Black teacher or someone that wants to be a teacher can reach out to, which I get all the time. Black women are like, hey, I'm thinking about becoming a yoga teacher, and they're here, right here in Charleston. So it's awesome.
hey, I'm taking a quick break to share something new with y'all. If you now go to BossLocks.org, you can leave us a voice message. That's right. If you want to be a part of the show without being a full-on guest, all you have to do is go to the contact page, click the button below, and voila, magic. Leave us a voice message, call it magic. Yo, 50 points if you could get that reference. But anyways, I added this because I want BossLocks to not only be a place for myself and my guests to express ourselves, but basically a place for you to share your thoughts, questions, and experiences too. I mean, BossLocks came from me asking questions, and I want to extend that opportunity to you too. So whether it's a question about natural hair, the Black experience, how we even created this show, or even if you just want to say what's up, leave us a message by going to bosslocks.org/contact and click the button to start leaving us a message. Thank you, and now back to our show. That's pretty cool. What do you usually say to them, to any Black woman or Black person who wants to become a yoga instructor? Like, what are the kind of the
It
first
depends.
steps?
Depends, right? Because every situation is unique, so it depends. Some women are coming and saying, "Hey, I want a career change" or something like that. And the first question I ask everyone is, "Are you wanting to do it because you think it's a lot of money into it, or do you think?" Because I think a lot of people see like successful yoga teachers, like I post things, people are like, "Wow, you're always doing things. You're always like working with these big brands," but you should be focused on teaching first. So if teaching seems to be what's in front, like the first thing on their list, and not like, hey, I want a career change, I just want to do this, I like yoga, whatever, right? Then I'll say, well, I don't know. Sometimes I ask them to dig a little bit deeper and really define what yoga would mean to them, or if they practice, like have a actual practice. Some people just want to be a teacher and have never even practiced before. And I'm just like, you know what I mean? You should only want to lead things that you're in love with. That's how I really feel. Like you should not sign up to do something that you're not sure why you're doing it. You have to have a why first before, and if you're never even practiced yoga, why would you want to be a teacher? Fall in love with it first. And if you have, which a lot of the women have that's reached out, normally I'm just like, let's meet up, let's talk, and it just becomes this like thing when you talk all the time. And then a lot of them are like, sometimes in Atlanta, all over, and they're just like, what do you think about this mat and that mat and whatever the case is. And yeah, I just give my recommendations freely. Like it makes me feel good to help people. And that I work with Lululemon. Even before I became an ambassador with them, I taught with them. And so, I would ask them like, hey, there's a new Black yoga teacher, or, whatever, like, can they take a slot to teach with you guys? And that's been working well. So for me, it's just, hey, if I'm trying to lead the way, it's only by bringing people along with me and helping them out. So however I can do that, whatever it is they're asking, everyone's different. Some people are just wanting to know, like, what types of yoga are out there and programs, and where should they start, or they're new and they don't have a studio to teach at, and so however I can help is what I try to answer to.
That's awesome. And I really love what you said about becoming what you're looking for.
Yeah.
And I think about just yoga in general, kind of what we spoke about when like you first came into this, you didn't see that many people who look like you. And I think that that's something that a lot of people experience in just life and in working environments. I know when I started playing soccer, I did not see that many black people playing it, which is crazy because, you know, it's a major sport all over Africa, which
Hello,
means hella
Africa.
black people playing it. Yeah.
But
And
it's still not that many black players though, right? In soccer,
uh,
has it changed? I don't watch soccer really,
it's
but
really depending on where you are. Like I
yeah,
know you see more people with time, but yeah, it's definitely still not we haven't taken that over yet, but on the way. But yeah, and I think that there's something to kind of becoming what you're looking for, and it's definitely not an easy path.
Mhm.
And I know that you shared that you're joining Lululemon, like the how you joined. I know you were already working with them, but this new role that you're taking, how it came to be, and all of that is kind of like an example of becoming what you're looking for. So,
Yeah.
can you share a little bit more about how you became the ambassador or one of the ambassadors for Lululemon?
Yeah. So yeah, like you said, I was working with them and teaching in stores. So a lot of teachers and so how it happens is you have to have a Lululemon in your city or where you live, and you build up this relationship with them. And not everyone they give an ambassadorship to. Obviously, they can't do that, but they do to people they feel like they're very connected to, or however, who can represent the brand the way they would want to see them, I guess, in their city. I don't know what the logic behind picking an ambassador is to a T, but my issue was, which is an issue with a lot of companies, especially fitness companies, fashion companies, whatever, is that I was working with them, not only me, but a lot of other Black instructors and of all kinds, right? Trainers. I noticed that we were working with them, but they were here maybe 6 years or more in Charleston, 2 locations. And I didn't really know what ambassador for them was. I never really paid attention to it. But when I got curious about it, and I said, like, okay, well, you guys have a lot of Black teachers that are working for you. Not a lot, but a few, right? A few to choose from. Why haven't you guys, or have you guys had a person of color outside of a white person in town that's been an ambassador for you guys? And the answer was no. And I'm thinking 6 years and you never had a Black ambassador. Why is that? Because you're choosing me, you're choosing my friends and other people that I don't quite know to teach and lead classes. So apparently you trust us, but what separates us from being what you qualify or is good enough to be an actual ambassador, right? Because when you're an ambassador, obviously Lululemon is a huge company, right? And we're talking like, I'm sure at $1 billion, probably millions of dollars, right? They're all over the US, they're in other countries. Everyone knows what Lululemon is. Anyone that's in wellness or fitness knows what Lululemon is, right? So yeah, because Lululemon is like the Nike of yoga, right? Even though they cater to men and like other clothing within fitness. But so it's just kind of like, man, like I love that I'm working with this company, but that really sucks. And yeah, I don't think I'm gonna work with you guys anymore because what the hell, what does that say about me? And what does that say about my other friends who are busting their ass to work with you guys? But then it's like, oh, when we're picking an ambassador, no, we're not going to go with the Black girl. Like we're going to go. I don't know if that's what their intention was, but because no one was listed as an ambassador that was a person of color in Charleston, that's the way I was taking it. So I mentioned to them like, hey, this is not sitting right with me. I can't work with you guys. Like, and I would like to see a change. And if a change doesn't happen, that like I'm going to talk about it publicly because that's just not okay. What they wanted to do was meet, so I met with the managing team at the Charleston Lululemon stores, and yeah, we had a real discussion. And those are the things that I mentioned, and they owned it. So that made me happy that they didn't try to wiggle their way out of it and saying like, oh, all these things. They were like, yeah, you're right. And yeah, we feel ashamed about that. And we want to make a change. And they asked that I work with them to help make that change, like what I would want to see. And it was a lot involved with it. But one thing was, me not asking to be an ambassador. This happened almost 2 years ago. Okay. So I just became an ambassador for them. So it wasn't that. It was just like acknowledging that we also deserve to have like a real contract with Lululemon, and not just here and there and for the holidays we're teaching in stores. But then we keep getting all these like white teachers getting accolades for working with Lululemon and being like having an official contract with Lululemon and like sponsored by Lululemon. And it's just like, damn, like I just work with them. Why didn't I get choose, or why was I chosen? But it wasn't for me. It was like all the other instructors that I knew were working with them as well. So, my thing with them was like, I'm not asking to be chosen. I'm asking for you guys to really consider the people that you're choosing for these like official partnerships. Like for me, it's if you're a community company, if you're saying your business is based on community, helping people feel better and like uplifted and all these things, I feel like when you give someone that much, I don't know, if you're recognizing a teacher that much, I feel like they should be doing more than just teaching in the studio and packing a class. Because I think if you have young leaders in these companies and they're just thinking, oh, this person is an influencer, they're a good look for the company, and that's what you're going to go, oh, they packed their class. But if that teacher is just teaching and then going home at the end of the day and not even doing anything extra in their community, I don't feel like they should be recognized for that. Because as a teacher, you are also an entrepreneur. So you're going to push your class and try to do well in business wise. But I feel like things like that should be given. That's just my belief. It should be given to people that are going beyond what is expected of them. So if you're Stephanie and you're packing your class, okay, that's great, right? Because company needs money and they want you to build money and they want a following from you, what you've created. But at the same time, if Stephanie's just packing her class and then she's going home counting her dollars and that's the end of the day and she don't care about her community, why should she be recognized for that? And I just never really understood that. And I knew personally, I was working in my community. I knew personally, like my friends that were working with Lululemon was also working hard in their community, building football trainings for young Black men. And these things that I think should be focused on, as a leader. And so I asked them to just shift their perspective on how they're actually choosing people for these. Rather, if it is a white woman, choose them because they're doing more than what you expect them to be doing as a teacher. You know what I mean? What else are they doing? Because I'm not saying that there are white teachers out there that aren't doing with it. Because I have plenty of friends that are going well over beyond what they should be doing. A lot of it's free. That's great. But those weren't even the people they were recognizing, So that, it just didn't sit right with me. So I asked for that. And I asked for them to really consider when they're choosing people, whether it's a Black person or not. I asked them to give more of my Black friends that were trainers jobs with them. I was like, I have a list of people that wants to teach, and Lululemon is a great company. How about you let them teach your next Thursday class? And they did. And it wasn't I was coming in trying to demand things. It wasn't that. I just wanted them to really put effort, and also knowing that they have a big stage where they could help teachers that are struggling out, especially minority teachers, and it's just like, what are you guys doing for us? And they, like I said, they owned it. They wanted to do more, and I saw them doing more from that point on. So, kudos to them. And recently, before COVID happened, they asked me to be a ambassador, like an official ambassador. In that, they also, told me that they were thankful and grateful for having me around to really point out things and, shine light on shadows that were being overlooked in their company here in Charleston. So that was great. And I felt like we have built the relationship. And so, I accepted it. But nice. Say 2 years ago, I probably would have said no. I definitely would have said no. Like, you guys got to do a little bit more work. It's not that I want you to just hand out that to someone or hand out an ambassadorship. I want you to really see that that's an issue and you need to change that, and that's what they did. So I'm happy about that. Now they have a lot of workshops for people of color where it's just Black teachers within Lululemon that are on there and, having open discussions about how they feel about working at Lululemon and then just in general in wellness. And so I think they're moving in the right direction, and no company is perfect right now, but I think they're moving in the right direction. And they're trying to actively listen to what's being said. So yeah, that's that.
Wow. That is powerful. So that conversation where you kind of called them out or held a mirror to their face, that was 2 years ago?
Yeah, almost 2 years ago. Yeah.
Wow. It really says a lot to the time it can take. But do you feel as though they took too long or could have done things faster?
Well, I don't know how I feel about it. What was said to me after, which, yeah, let's hope that. Anyways, what was said to me after was, I think some of the management team may have thought I would have turned it down, and because of how I expressed how I felt about them doing it. And even when we had our initial meeting, I was saying, I'm not asking to be an ambassador. And one, I wouldn't want you to try to offer me that, because I would think that the timing is weird right after I mention it to you. So I think they were trying to give that space for me to be open and honest, and also give them enough space, which I asked them to work on things. So for me, that's not overnight. And I expressed that, like, you can't just, almost like when the Black Lives Matter movement, which it's a reality that people have shifted into this movement, which is so annoying to me. But, everyone's just like overnight, like, oh yeah, our company's doing better. Bam, we're going to put up social media posts. That doesn't sit right with me ever. So even 2 years ago, it didn't sit right with me if they decided to do that. And I was on it, and I was like open about that. Like, I don't expect you to try to offer it to any of these people I just listed or myself, because then that would just be fake to me. And it wouldn't mean that you actually, and how would you as the brand in our city go about saying, hey, yeah, we did work overnight and now we're choosing someone? It would take time. It would take time. Even now, like, I've been posting a lot. I think a lot of Black people have been like being very vocal, especially once the Black Lives Matter movements are happening. Like, people got a whim of it, and like all these white people wanted to miraculously change overnight and all this. I put several posts up, and one was for them to slow the hell down, because you can't just wake up and racism has disappeared out of your life. Like, it's subconscious. You know what I mean? So you have to really work, like, take the time to read, and whatever you posted on social media, it doesn't even matter if you didn't do the work. So as far as Lululemon or any brand, not just Lululemon, if you decide like, oh, someone just called us out, let's just give it to someone. You didn't even do any work. Like, you didn't even see where the problem was. You didn't work with your team to build a better future for choosing ambassadors. So for me, I'm actually happy they waited. And they didn't do it when they did, because then I wouldn't have, it wouldn't be genuine. I don't think it would have been genuine. And the thing is, at the time, it was a different management team. So the managers that were there left South Carolina altogether, but they passed the word on to the new management team. And so with the new management team, after they got there, they would come to my class and say, like, hey, we just want to let you know that we see you and we heard about you meeting with our team. And so it was just like a chain reaction. You know what I mean? I don't think it was forced. I think the timing was good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think that's, you touched on a lot of things that I think is important for people to realize. And more so I'm speaking about people who are in this position where, for the first time, they're like, oh, Black Lives Matter. Interesting. Because I think that there were a lot of posts over this past summer, and it's great. It was cool. But I think I am interested in what everything's going to look like from 2 years from now, not just on social media, but the inside.
Yeah.
That's, yeah. And matter of fact, I'm putting together a list of everyone who out here posting who wasn't usually posting like that, these companies and brands, just to see.
And see.
Yeah. You're going to put out a little report card, see how you guys were doing.
Exactly. Mm-hmm. And then even when, like, I guess when I was asked to be an ambassador, it was like around the time of Black Lives. Well, when I announced it, and people were like, not people, but few people were saying like, oh, do you think they just gave it to you because of like Black Lives Matter thing, which would make sense, right? But no,
Right.
they actually, before all that happened, we get this like wave of craziness online. They actually had a contract drawn up before any of that, and how they normally do it is they come to your class if they can make it to your class and do like the surprise, like, hey, will you be an ambassador, whatever. That's how they know Lululemon normally does it.
Mm-hmm.
But we closed our studio down during that time, and they never made it. So when I did speak to them, they were just like, hey, we want to let you know, like, this was not our intentions. And they had like, my whole team knew about it. They were keeping a secret from me, but they were trying to make it to my event or to my studio. But I kept being out of town and like all these things, and it can't really be a surprise. So they're like, hey, we normally don't do this because we try to surprise people, but we keep missing you. So we have to tell you. I'm like, oh, dang, it would be mean to like screw up a surprise. So happily, they were considering me, obviously, because we had built a relationship and before all this movement happened, which makes me feel good. And it shows me, just continues to remind me that I'm doing, yes, making a positive impact in my community as a Black teacher and leader.
Nice. Hopefully you could get your surprise party with the birthday cake and all that soon.
I don't even like surprises, so you know.
Hey, well then it happened perfectly for you.
I know people are like, oh no, I'm like, actually I don't like going back to being introverted. I'm definitely like, yeah. So yeah, so it was good. It was good. I mean, it's interesting to be doing this and trying to promote things and whatever, where it's just online now. But you know, we're trying to figure it out just like everyone else.
That's right. We're all trying to figure it out. Mm-hmm. Yeah. So I want to transition a little bit to kind of learn a little bit more about your natural hair journey. Mm-hmm. So for one, like, how long have you had locks?
In December will be 7.5 years.
7.5 years?
Yeah.
Nice. Do you remember what inspired you to start your lock journey?
Yeah. So I was getting my hair processed at the time, which is most of my life, because I had super coarse hair and it was crazy thick. And my mom was like, oh, that's a permit. So it's like easier for me to comb through. Hot combs, all that crazy stuff, right? So anyways, at the time I was good with that. I was like, I'm good with that. Like, you know, my hair was long and full and whatever, even though I was getting it processed. Then I started getting colored with the process here. And I swear to you, like, this one woman, I won't call her name, bleached my hair, which I wanted it bleached. I used to wear like different highlights, colors. And because I think it was too strong with the process and the coloring too close together, my hair started breaking off in the front. So I was like, oh crap.
Oh no.
Falling off. And I look crazy because the back's long, the front's falling off. What is going on? So I was like, wow, like I've always, have loved Lauryn Hill music, but I've always thought she was so beautiful, like her hair. And and some of my best friends were like, you literally love locks and natural hair since you were like in middle school, right? But I never shift to it because I don't know. Like, I don't know if it was a fear of how it would look. I think it was just like, I don't know. Like, I like it, but should I get it? And I played a lot of sports. So it was kind of like, you know, it was a lot of things. So once my hair started like falling off basically in the front because of all the processing, I found this loctician and I thought like, hey, maybe I'll just go and start this, like, see what she says, right? So I go to her and she's still based in Charleston and who I've been going to since the start. And I literally just started crying. I didn't realize how attached I was to my hair until I spoke to someone about it, you know, and she was like, yeah, we're going to figure it out. And I went, and I remember my first time going into the shop, right? This is my first time going into natural hair. Like, they just focused on natural hair. And when I saw these freaking beautiful Black women with beautiful natural hair, and I was just like, damn, where was I living at? Like, again, back to yoga, where was this, you know? And why didn't I start this when I was younger? I mean, it was so inspiring. And so I was crying because I was like, my hair is like the most jacked up one in here. These women have like beautiful long locks, sister locks, afros, curly hair, everything, right? And she was like, it's okay, we're gonna get you back on track. And then she was like, well, what is it that you want? I was like, I think I'm gonna go natural. I don't know. Like, I've never been natural my whole life. Does that mean I have to cut my hair off? And she was like, well, I would say cut your hair off. Yeah. But not everybody's comfortable with that. So she said, well, here's what we do. We'll cut it down shorter. And then you can transition by wearing like 2 strand or whatever. So we would play around with like different things. And as we played around, every time I went in and I went between styles, she would just keep cutting more and more off. And so eventually I had just like natural afro. And then I was like, okay, well, let me like go a period with just playing with the afro. So I wore that for a while, like probably over a year. Then I would go to her to still get shampoo and treatment and stuff like that. And I loved it. And, but being that I was very active still, I was like, there's no way I can like take care of an afro every morning because my hair is so thick and coarse. And so she was like, well, do you want to lock? And I'm thinking, well, damn, this might be a full circle. I always loved Lauryn Hill and Lettucey. Like, you think I would be like them? Like, if I'm going to look like them, I guess so, She was like, I can't promise that, but, we can start. That's what we started. We started locking it, and I like short locks. And after I started the process of locking it, I never like covered it up with like any extra hair or wigs or anything like that. Like, I actually love the process. When my hair was shorter and it was just like, because my hair is so thick, my locks was just like out like a afro lock basically. I just loved it. I loved every moment of it. And I think that's why it went by kind of quick for me, because I enjoyed it. I didn't think it was like this ugly stage that a lot of people talk about. I'm like, and if you went from damaged hair to healthy hair, you're just like in love with it. You know what I mean? Like, oh my God, I didn't know my hair could be so full and beautiful. You know what I mean? I was missing that. So once I saw that and it was thriving, and honestly, my loctician is like the hype man of all hype mans. Okay. Like, you go in and she's like, you look so good today. And it makes you feel good. So I think that's important also to have people around you that's going to support you and tell you look great, because you may not feel that way all the time. And I noticed a lot of women, I was just at my friend's bachelorette weekend, and okay, half of the women were natural, right? That hair out, but most of them wanted locks. Like, surprised. I was like, wow, I hadn't been around this many women that wants locks. But all of them were kind of like either afraid or like asking so many questions about it. But I feel like a lot of us are surrounded by people who are like maybe work in a professional setting, whatever that is, and aren't encouraged by like partners and stuff. You know what I mean? Like, they're like, oh no, your hair looks better straight or whatever it is. I think it's discouraging to a lot of people, and they don't want to do that. I would say that for me, I had a lot of people like, you're going to look good, you're going to look great. And that's why I ultimately decided to go ahead through with it. And my loctician was great at that too. So I always felt great, and yeah. So even working, wait, because we're probably going to shift into like work with here. I want to keep going on and on. It's been a good experience up until this point. Yeah, I mean, I don't normally cut. I'll cut the ends sometimes. One, because I do yoga a lot and like my hair just drags all over the place. So I try to cut the ends, but normally I don't cut. I hadn't really cut or colored my hair since having it. So that's it.
Nice. Yeah, I was speaking to a loctician. Shout out to your loctician, by the way. That's what's up.
Yeah.
That's what's up. But yeah, I was speaking to a loctician, Angie Scott, here in Atlanta, and she actually like trimming your locks is actually a very good thing to do for your hair to keep it healthy. So
and my loctician is Kalani Reynolds, so that way we can plug her.
Kalani
she's here.
Reynolds, shout out to you, Kalani.
Yeah, she's dope.
That's what's up. So you mentioned something about like having natural hair in the workspaces, and one thing I always like to ask people who come on is how do you define professionalism?
Well, if we're thinking about the definition of professionalism, it's just being qualified to do a job efficiently, effectively, right? And that's what I think of when I think of professionalism. It's funny how all this tied to having locks, a lot of times are natural hair in that business like world where I don't know how it even became a thing. Like, it's not interchangeable. It's just, if you can do your job effectively, which has nothing to do with how you look or how you wear your hair. So it's, am I trained or have qualifications to lead this job? And that should be it. But I do know that there's a strong tie between the two, and what people think a professional should look like, right? And so I think then we start shifting what the word actually means to what a company is defining it to be, or what it should look like, you know? So that's what it means to me. If you're able to, if you have the qualifications to do your job, right? To lead, and if you can do that effectively and efficiently, that's what it means to me.
Nice. Yeah. I think it's interesting. I like what you tied in there with like how companies have turned into something like how they define it themselves, because I know it's interesting how much power words have. And that word right there is definitely shaped the way people perceive, and then it just adds on all these other things that they have subconsciously all around this word and what they really want around them. So, yeah.
What does it mean to you?
What's it mean to me? So for me, when I think of professionalism, I think of respect and how you're communicating with people around you. I know, I remember I was well, it's really a long story, but anyways, I was in this interview and the guy interviewing, he needed something from someone he worked with, and he kind of just like snapped, like, hey, you didn't even say anything. He just pointed. He wasn't looking at him, just like, come over. And I was like, man, that's the most disrespectful thing you're doing to someone who works with you in an interview where I'm supposed to kind of fall in love with a company. You're just doing this right there. Like, no, nah. Yeah, you're not snapping at me. No way. So, yeah, I think about the moments throughout my career journey, and the things I remember the most is the way management or people who worked with you, how they respected people. And I think disrespect is something I take very like highly. So, yeah. Thanks for asking. People usually ask me. Yeah.
Sure, it means a lot. It means different things to different people. I was just wondering
it does.
what it means.
Yeah. So I have two other questions for you. How can everybody find you?
I'm mostly on Instagram. Again, because I'm quite introvert. I don't know. I just feel like things should just belong to me. But I do know that I teach, and so now I have to have like a social life. But I'm on Instagram, and it's Yogi YOGI _ Mama MAMA _ Ash. So Yogi _ Mama _ Ash, and that's Instagram. And it's funny because I was talking to a friend and I was like, what should my Instagram name be? And this was like a couple of years ago. And we were trying to come up with something, and he said Yogi Mama Ash, and I'm like, what? No. And he was like, no, that's a good name. So I chose it. And then I swear to you, months later, I was like, I hate that name. But then I was out in Charleston, people were like, you're Yogi Mama Ash, right? Like, and that's how people identify. I'm like, damn, I cannot change that name. I'm stuck with that Instagram name.
Oh yeah, no, I remembered after Drusada sent me your profile. I never forgot your username. It sticks, and it's really dope.
So I'm like, okay, well, even if I hate it or not, like, whatever. But so yeah, that's how I became. And so yeah, I'm owning that name now. But yeah, social media. And then BRWN Girl Talk. So Brown without the O. So BRWN Girl Talk, and that's on Instagram as well. Me and my partner Kay Marine runs that account, so you can stop by and say hello. As far as teaching, I teach with Still Soul Studio. I'm a yin teacher. I teach meditation, and I'm also a director over community for our studio. And lastly, I teach online with Yogi Approve. They're based in LA and Phoenix. But you can, it's yoga on demand, so you can log on from anywhere.
Oh, that's cool. That's cool. All right, we'll have links to all of that, everything, everywhere. Very cool. So, last question, might be a tough one. Are you ready?
I'm gonna get ready.
You think about it for a bit, like, I guess so. All right. Is there anything else that you would like to touch on before we go?
Was that it?
That's it.
I mean,
Hmm.
it's one of those things where I was thinking about, and sometimes I'll say it in my class. It's just like everyone wants to go on the journey. Everyone wants to be on this journey. Everyone wants to get to this destination. But especially us as Black people, we have so much trauma. We have so much packed inside that we've got generational trauma, right? Trauma from our parents and their parents and oppression and like all these things we're carrying around. And like Erica Badu said, like we all became like bag lady and men. Like we have all this shit that we are carrying around and we never unpack it, right? That's how you do your mental health checks, like your therapy or whatever it is, whatever it looks like to you. Those to me are like unpacking stages that we can take to just unpack so we have like room to fill up with the things we want in our life and the things we desire. But we can't continue to hold on to past trauma and also think that we're going to have room for new things and desires and wants that we're going on a path. Let's pack light. Let's let go of things so we can move forward. We can only
That's
do that
right.
by working on ourselves, right, on an individual level, and then doing things like this, communicating, connected with other Black people, and so we can keep amplifying each other's voices.
That's
Um,
right.
and not
Yeah.
wait for other people to do it for us.
I just want money in the bank. Have no time for them. We just pray and say amen. Been here, boys, since way back when. I just want money in the bank.
Now that is a wrap. Thank you so much for tuning in to the Boss Locks podcast, where we redefine professionalism, elevate Black voices, and prove that natural hair and professionalism do coexist. Now, if you enjoyed today's show, want to get to know our guest a little bit more, check out the links in the description. You'll go to our website. You'll see all the different places where you can connect with our guest. And while you're there, go ahead and check out the rest of your site. If you're a first time listener, this is the best place to learn more about BossLocks and everything that we've got going on. And also in the description will be a link on how to support our show. That's right. I know you've been asking for a while about the best ways to support our show, and I've dropped a few things here and there, but I finally put together a little something on our site with all the different ways that you can support us by joining the BossLocks Village, which is our Patreon page, joining the Working While Black group, and just continuing to spread the message. Matter of fact, if you want to know the best way to support our show, is by telling a friend to tell a friend. I mean, it's these are shows with a lot of gems and advice that I truly feel will help people pursue growth, whether you're a Black professional or not. This is information that's basically free game, and I think the more people who hear it, the more people who will be able to help really support the change that we need today and in the future. So, once again, thank you for listening, and I'll see you next Tuesday for our next episode.
Grab the bro, cause I don't even see them. Shout the family, cause I need them. Yeah, I need them. If I pull up in the German, I want the best version. Tryna kill bills like Uma Thurman. Money in the bank. Money in the bank. I just want money in the bank. Money in the bank. I just want money in the bank. Money in the bank. I just want money in the bank. I just want